1, 2, 3, 4. Pedagogy a go-go. Pedagogy go-go-go. Hello and welcome to Pedagogy a Go-Go, a podcast about how we engage with learning and why. This is Season 6, Episode 3, Touching Base, and we are your hosts, Kelly Allen and Gina Turner, and our special guest / host, Jeff Armstrong, is here joining us. Hey!
It'd be a podcast without that. All right. Excellent.
So we were going to be recording with a real guest, a quote-unquote real guest, but they had to pull out, and we thought, why don't we engage in conversation with the three of us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
see
haven't
what
done
we
this
have
in
to
a while,
say.
so
see what's in our heads.
Absolutely.
If
So,
anything.
If you're listening, I've been abducted.
help.
Yeah, we put a lot of pressure on Jeff.
No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't wait to see what transpires. So,
Indeed.
Jeff, thanks for being here and ready, set, go.
If you had just one word to describe yourself as a teacher, what would it be? All right, so I'm going to make an executive decision and say that I am going to ask Jeff the first question.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay, so the first question is, what do you teach?
Wow. Just jumping right into it. Jeff's voice.
Well, in general, I teach psychology. Over the course of 15 or so years, I've taught a lot of courses, but I would say the ones that I teach most typically are Introduction to Psychology, Developmental Psychology, Psychopathology, and then once a year at DeSales, I'll teach Counseling Psychology.
Cool.
And then there are probably 4 or 5 other courses that I've taught at some point, at least a few times.
Yeah. Why has it changed? Why is it just circumstances?
Yeah, well, a lot of the different courses I would teach at DeSales, and that really was more just about what was available. You know,
Yeah.
I teach there part time, and a lot of times I'm being offered what is available. And I teach in their adult studies program, which has moved fully online. So I teach less for them now at this point. And the opportunities have become more limited. So I think that's a big part of the reason why.
Yeah.
But the intro to psych and developmental psych and psychopathology, those are courses I've taught since the beginning, and have taught pretty consistently since the beginning.
Yeah.
And still love teaching.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild to me.
What is psychopathology?
It used to be called abnormal psychology. So essentially, the course that focuses on focuses on mental illness. So. And it's organized categorically, so we'll do a chapter on mood disorders like major depression and bipolar disorder. We'll do a chapter on psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. So really, essentially a class on mental illness or mental health issues.
Wow.
I've never taught that class, but in teaching intro, I would always do that unit, that chapter in the textbook. And that's the one where the students really personalize themselves and their family members. Like they want to diagnose everybody in their lives.
Yep. Well, you read a list of symptoms and, it's like out of context. I experienced that one. Oh, I experienced all of these at some point.
Right.
This sounds like me, kind of. There's a lot of, for sure, self-diagnosis or other diagnosing, obviously informally. As a student in that class. I remember doing it as a student, both as an undergrad and in graduate school.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have kind of the makeup to teach that kind of class.
Ooh, say more.
Well, like the depression and stuff like that, because, I don't know, like transparency, like I, deal with depression and like all the just scary and unfortunate thoughts that come with that, to then actually be responsible for teaching that, I would be a mess all the time.
I feel like there are kind of 2 ways you can go with it, and one of them is probably I know it's not the route that Jeff would take because I've seen Jeff in action. Jeff is awesome. But you can go a little too dramatic in it. And I think that's when the students kind of can't put the brakes on their own identification with what they're learning.
Yeah.
When I teach that topic, I always start out with, how many of you have been frightened? How many of you, just really simple emotions, and just explain anxiety is just fright, but it's overwhelming. It's when it becomes overwhelming and causes you distress. How many of you have had a really low day? And, everybody raises their hand. Mm-hmm. So depression is, and then we go over the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders, right, in the class, where we see how those symptoms have to be experienced in a particular way. But I think part of it is destigmatizing. Mm-hmm. I think that's the other way that I think, I will say for all my colleagues right here, that we try to destigmatize the idea that, these are just human, these are facets of being human. And we're all going to be touched by it at some point, mm-hmm. So maybe that would make it a little less scary. Or not.
I don't know. Because, I mean, as you both know, and probably like our listeners know this about me as well, is that I'm a very emotional person. And when it gets all ramped up, it's very, very difficult for me to unramp it up. Yeah. And it can take me over. And I think that teaching that kind of class would put me in a very vulnerable position to always be getting very emotional. Because even with my classes, so I teach writing as one of the things that I teach. It's our classes are very personal, and mm-hmm. they can sometimes be quite emotional. But thankfully, writing is dull. And once we talk about that, it kills the mood, So
it's all about boundaries, my training is in counseling, and so I think such a huge part of that training was learning how to set professional boundaries, as a therapist. And obviously, being an educator is not it's different, and the boundaries that are required in that context are different. Mm-hmm. But certainly some of what I learned to become a counselor transfers into being an educator, to establish good, healthy boundaries between me and the students, and helping the students establish good boundaries between them and each other in a class where the subject matter is intimate and personal and difficult.
Mm-hmm. Now I feel like everyone needs to take this class.
Everyone does need to take
faculty included
psychology classes, 100%.
So do I get to ask the next?
You get to ask the next question.
I'm going to ask Gina. If you had one word to describe yourself as a teacher or an educator, what word would you choose and why?
Oh boy. Well, so I do remember years ago, our first go round with this, with the three of us and Tom, and we did each pick a word.
Do you remember what your word was?
I do remember my word. I do remember my word, but it's going to be a different word now.
Yeah.
Because the word was lover. And it's a whole thing.
I don't remember this.
Okay. You were referring to the Taylor Swift song, I assume.
I was absolutely not. I apologize to you Swifties. I was not. I meant it in the sense that I love my discipline. I love teaching. I love sharing the information with students, et cetera, et cetera. So that was kind of the angle I was going. But what you were just saying about boundaries made me, and Kelly, what you were saying about getting emotional in class, I think I've been really, and this bridges not only me in the classroom, but also my role as the executive director of DEI. I'm really trying to embrace vulnerability in all of those spaces, because I think that's the only way that you can both destigmatize the emotional reactions that we all as human beings have every day. And it's the only way that we can see each other and think about ways in which we can be better together. So I'm going to go with vulnerability as my word.
What would yours have been? Or what is it?
I don't remember what mine was when we did it way back when. I
don't remember.
I think I have two answers. One that feels true now and has always felt true, which is performer of some sort. I am definitely an introvert, and I feel like it requires what feels like a performance when I get up and stand in front of students and lead a classroom. And I always try to put forth a performance that brings good energy and excitement to whatever it is that we're discussing. And I think more recently I would use a word, something more like personal or maybe like ideographic. Because I think pedagogically I feel like I've shifted a lot, much more toward trying to build my courses around giving students opportunities to explore things that are personal to them, that are important to them, that, and it's easy, maybe easy is the wrong word, but I'm grateful that I teach psychology, because it's a subject matter where it's a lot easier, I think, than maybe like pre-algebra to give students that opportunity to explore it personally and specific to them. But yeah, I think the last couple of years, especially in response to AI, I feel like that's where I've put a lot of energy and emphasis. Less of like the transmission of information and more about like building meaning for the individual student.
I really like that. Not just transmitting information, but helping build meaning together with the student. That's really cool. And I think you did say performer.
Yeah, I would guess that it was something along those lines, or some entertainer performer, something like that.
Yeah. Kelly, what about you?
I'm not sure how to put my experiences into a word. But I don't know, perhaps personal. Like I work really hard to make sure that each of my students, or each of the learners in the classroom, feel that that they're being seen, and that what we are learning is being tailored to their unique academic needs. Because at the end of the semester, like, I'm hoping that they can experience like that transfer of knowledge, not just like, what skills or content did they learn in the classroom, and how does that transfer to like, the next class that they take, but also like how does it transfer to their day-to-day lives. So like I think it's important that we all see the relevance of higher ed in the way that it enriches who we are outside of work, outside of school. And I think for me, in order to do that effectively, I need to meet every single student on a one-on-one level. So personal.
Oof. That's admirable. And I mean, and it's similar to what you were saying, Jeff, too. To recognize that each of these students is an individual with their own individual needs, and boundaries, and all of those things that I think I aspire to do. I don't think I do it all the time. I'll be totally honest.
I don't think it's realistic to have that level of connection with everybody.
No.
Because like it's not just us.
Right.
Like the people that we are sharing these like learning experiences with, like they have to want to be engaged as well.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel that learning is not something that we do to people. It's something that we do with each other. So yeah, if the other person in the relationship doesn't want to engage, well, that's when we break up with them.
At the end of the semester.
Yeah. It's like, well, this wasn't fun.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
But it was really you.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's my word.
You get to ask a question.
Oh, I do? Okay. So let me think here. So it's the when we were students, the question. Mm-hmm. So like when we what experience did we have as students that influenced the educators that we are today? And Gina, you said that you're going to coach us through this. I forget, who does this go to?
You get to pick.
Oh, Jeff.
Well, I did my undergrad at Penn State. And I already mentioned that I definitely identify as more of an introvert. So if you give me an opportunity to hide, I will hide. And I hid very well at Penn State. Mostly large classes and it was not very personal, to use the word that you used, Kelly. So it really wasn't until grad school that I had an opportunity to really connect with my instructors, or was maybe forced to connect with my instructors. It was more difficult to hide. And I think really fell in love with education and the classroom in a very different way than comparing my experiences in high school and undergrad. So specifically, I'm thinking about a faculty member named Dr. Joanne Jodry, who just was amazing at connecting with her students and helping students find ways to connect with the material in her classes. I think I took 3 or 4 classes with her, but I think in particular, her ability to recognize things in her students, and me specifically, that I didn't recognize in myself. I'm 100% certain that if it wasn't for her, I never would have entered into education. She, I did some presentations in her classes that she was fond of, and she really took it upon herself to let me know some of the strengths that she saw in me that I was completely oblivious to.
Wow.
I think if it were not for her, I probably would have stayed in counseling. I did work in counseling for a while, but almost immediately I went into teaching part-time as a faculty member, because she kind of put that idea in my head. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I had not had an educational experience like that up until, I was, I guess at the time, probably about 20. And she changed my life. And so I think now as an educator, just knowing that that's the opportunity we could have, any day. It's a massive opportunity to have with the people that we're working with, both our colleagues and our students in education. So it's less about a specific pedagogy, but more generally recognizing the potential impact that we might have on each other and our students' lives, that I think came to mind first for me in response to that question.
That's wonderful. And shout out to that professor.
Dr. Joanne Jodry, yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you communicate with her at all now?
Every once in a while, I think
great.
We're friends on Facebook, and every once in a while we'll connect. But it's probably time for me to reach back out and remind her of how important she was in my life. And I'm gonna imagine I'm not the only person who feels that way.
Yeah.
Is there a specific experience for either of you that comes to mind when you think about your experiences as students as being formative or really significant in your influence as an educator?
I mean, I'm thinking of a number of experiences I had with educators where I saw them as human beings as opposed to being the sage on the stage, that old-fashioned way of teaching. I went to undergrad thinking I wanted to be a math teacher, because I had this incredible string of math teachers from middle school all the way up through high school. Wow. They were just really they were funny and they were engaging, and they would I don't know, they just made the classes, it didn't just feel like someone up there droning on and on and on. And even when I got to calculus in my senior year, and I was like, that professor, Mr. Babani, was so supportive of me. I had actually, well, I won't go into that whole thing. And then, and then when I got to, well, then I clawed my way out of undergrad. I think I've said on the podcast a number of times I was not a very good student in undergrad. And when I decided to go back to school to pursue a graduate degree in psychology, I went back to take some undergrad classes in psychology. And I think it helped that it was the summer. So everybody was just really chill and laid back. And so I made sure to visit. I took 3 classes, and I made sure to go to the office hours of each of them just to kind of do a little informational interview with them. And they were just so nice and friendly, and I was so interested. And so it was really, I feel very lucky I've had these very approachable people, because I identify as a strong introvert too. And, just sit not all the way in the back, but like 3/4 of the way back in the classroom and on the side kind of person, and so I think it was just feeling like these people really liked what they did. Maybe it's back to that whole lover thing, but that they were really engaged in what they were doing, and that's why they were doing it. Mm-hmm. That they loved the teaching part, and they loved the interacting with students part. And then I have to shout out my dissertation advisor, Michael Schober at the New School, who was just, he totally invited me to his lab in my second semester there, and I wouldn't have made it out of grad school without his support. So, and I'm also friends with him on Facebook, and have also not reached out in a long time, so I should send him a thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome.
How about you, Kelly?
I think for me, it's hands down Dr. Laurel Black. So I did my undergraduate work at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I too was not a good student. I think I may have shared this a number of times. I know with the two of you, but perhaps also on the podcast, that it took me 8 years to get my bachelor's degree. I failed out twice, and I had to do the whole summer school thing to try to bring up my GPA. That's when I went to community college for the second time to take some classes, to transfer them over, and then show the university that I was serious. But at the end of the day, I was a bad student for a reason, and that was just because I didn't know how to be a good student. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to be accountable in that sort of way. And because of that, I'm quite sure that many of the faculty kind of knew that I was just I was a screw up. I wasn't always reliable. I would kind of do the bare minimum in many regards. But it was in Dr. Black's class that she got me thinking about writing in ways that I'd never thought of before. And then she got me thinking about relationships between teachers and students in ways that I hadn't thought of before. These relationships where students are co-creators of information. And it was just really, I don't know, just amazing, engaging work. And, and I was just used to, and I've had other moments like that where those rare occasions where I felt inspired and I would really kind of put my full effort into it. But as I said, I feel that a lot of my professors kind of just knew the whole picture. And that is, I was kind of a screw up. And she didn't care. She never said it outright, but I feel that she thought that it doesn't matter what your history is. It's everyone deserves, an opportunity to kind of show their best selves. So I had her for advanced composition, and then there was another class that I had with her, and then she was like, I would like you to present this at a conference. So as an undergraduate, I didn't even know what a conference was. And I was like, well, what is that? And sure. I just wasn't used to having opportunities. I thought that was for the smart kids. And she told me what it was. And I was like, holy crow. She helped me put my application together, and it was accepted, and I got to present. as an undergrad. It was just absolutely incredible. And then she also is one who inspired me to apply for a position at a writing center.
Wow.
She said, "You're really good at talking with people about writing. I want you to do this thing." She didn't suggest that I do it. She just straight up told me. She's like, "Go contact Dr. Rafith and say that you would like a job, and then I'll write you a letter." But it was like that thing where it's like, okay, wait a minute, no, like I belong here. That was just really transformative for me. But I've never forgotten that, and I just make sure that even when I see students that are just like not being their best selves in class, that it's like, well, okay, that's today, and tomorrow's tomorrow. And like, you know, if there's an opportunity there, I'm going to make sure that you're aware of it. I'm going to support you in it. Yeah.
That's really, I really love the way that you ended that, especially because you can see these students and they could be showing any facet of themselves on one day versus the next day versus the next day. And, you know, I was thinking about this too, and thinking about feeling almost a little anxious when Kelly said he wants each student to have that personal relationship. I'm like, I'm not capable of that. But it made me think of two things. One is that there are teachers who don't know how much I enjoyed them because I never told them, right? And to this day, I'm not going to be able to come up with the names. I remember this art history class, and I just adored the TA, and he made it interesting for me. But also, part of being kind of, I guess, you know, vulnerable is recognizing that you're not going to have that relationship with every student. And you're certainly not going to have that relationship with every student in every moment.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a little heartening too. Kind of both things can be true.
Yeah.
Right. You could be that person for that student one day and not the next day either. So it's just about sort of bringing, you know, all the things we were talking about before, bringing our interest and love of the material and our interest and love of working with students, and, you know, hope that they will rise to the bar of rapport that we want to build. And if they don't, they don't. You know, it's not rocket science. That's not right. That's not the cliche I want to use.
And there's rocket scientists across the world that are going, yes, it is. It is rocket science.
I guess what I meant is it's not it's not like a perfect algorithm, you know. It's not input X, you will get Y, right? And I think that's another, going back to psychology also, like it's intermittent reward. So sometimes you do have that student in the class and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been teaching for 20 years because I was waiting for this student, right? And then other days you're like, oh, I don't like what I do.
It's all of that for sure.
Yeah, but like that, you know, like, you know, I forget how you had just said it so wonderfully about, like, you know, the X and the Y, and it's just, it's not formulaic. It's like, no, like teaching is messy. I feel like it should be messy. Like we need, because it's in that mess making that we're making mistakes. And, you know, there's like just those, you know, various, you know, beautiful elements that come from that. Like A is just feeling comfortable of making those mistakes, but then also just realizing, oh yeah, I learn best from making mistakes.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, you were talking about being emotional. Sorry, and I know it's time for, it's me to ask a question. But you were talking about being worried about getting too emotional in the class. And it just made me think of when I used to teach intro and we would talk about altruism. I would read the end of the book, The Grapes of Wrath, out in class. So you probably haven't read Grapes of Wrath in a billion years. Neither have I. Yeah, if ever. Suffice it to say, it's about people fleeing the Dust Bowl and moving to California and then getting stuck in this horrible economic, you know, disparity. And the book ends, spoiler for a 70-year-old book or whatever, but the book ends where this family has been washed out of the horrible housing they were in, and they've taken refuge in a barn. And the young woman has had a baby. Kelly's nodding his head, and the baby did not survive, but she still has milk. And there is a starving, dying man in that barn, and she nurses him because she can give that to him. Mm-hmm. That's all she has in the world. And I used to cry every time I read that in class, and I was happy about that because I mean, again, I don't feel like I'm a good teacher unless I'm sort of, and it may differ, but I don't think for the two of you, I don't feel like I'm good in the classroom unless I could cry at any moment or laugh at any moment or, or be messy.
Back to being vulnerable, right? I mean, yeah.
And that's not true of everyone, right?
Sure.
And you don't want people breaking down in your classroom every day.
Well, no, I mean, we certainly don't. But like I have had conversations with educators. I've been a student with educators that are very top down. Mm-hmm. Just kind of the rigid nature of it. I don't know. I can't imagine like where, at least for me as an educator, that would ever be like the most effective way to conduct a learning experience. Mm-hmm. Bring on the emotion, bring on the mess.
I wish we had someone here who could be like, on the other hand, because I would love to hear that perspective too. So, and I think we've sort of already talked about this question about tailoring your pedagogic style and practices as you get to know your students. I think that's what we were talking about. So I'm going to ask about a favorite assignment, and I'm going to ask Jeff.
Favorite assignment. My favorite assignment right now, I have two. I'll share one of them, is for my developmental psychology class. It's called, I've called it the Exploring Human Development Project. It's a multimodal project where students, each chapter, I should back up and say that the course is organized chronologically. So it starts with prenatal development, it ends with, late adulthood and then death and dying. And each chapter, students are asked to explore that stage of life in whatever direction they want to go in. And I give them sample directions. I give them like my recommended direction. So for example, in the infancy chapter, I encourage them to explore their own infancy by interviewing a grandparent or a parent or somebody who may have known them while they were an infant, because it's this really important part of their life that they have no actual autobiographical memory of. Mm-hmm. But also I give other prompts that allow students to take it more in like a research-oriented direction for those who don't want to explore their own past. Mm-hmm. And it's just, seeing over the course of the semester then, this is all housed in one place. And so I'll see kind of this timeline of exploration for each student in each chapter. And in some cases, like the final product is just so moving. And, connecting it back to, I think what I've really been striving for, as a teacher in general, is giving students spaces to make the subject matter specific to them. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's an assignment where I've done it really well, and have used technology in a way that I think allows students to do just about anything they want with it. So that's I would say one of my two favorite assignments right now.
That's great, and I like that you also give the students who don't want to get personal that option. Yeah,
and so here I'll share. ChatGPT or AI was really helpful in coming up with different directions that students might go in. I used it to come up with possible topics or ideas that they could explore, and it really made it a lot easier for me to, for every chapter, give students a variety of options. So I always have this is my recommended option, but then here are a number of other options you could choose, or you could do something completely unrelated to, it has to be related to the chapter, but not one of the specific topics that are provided. So but it's worked really well. I think this is my third or fourth semester doing it, and I keep tweaking it. Every semester I tweak a little bit, but it's going really well so far.
That's really cool. Do you want to describe your second one, or
No, I'm going to kick it.
leave us in suspense?
I mean, if you really want me to, I will. But I was going to kick it to Kelly to hear if Kelly has a favorite assignment.
Well, like, what makes it a favorite assignment? Like, so like we're going to be calling this episode "Touching Base," I think, and like, maybe that's just like, so what is it that we mean by a favorite assignment? Is it because like because you feel good about it, or because they feel good about it, or there's some mutual feel-goodiness, and then, but anyway, okay, I digress.
Well, wait, we didn't set the parameters before I answered, so you have to just decide it for yourself.
Exactly, your own rubric.
Lord have mercy. Okay. I'm a huge fan of journaling. And like, I kind of fluctuate, between like handwritten journals and then journals that are typed out. I would prefer handwritten journals. But sometimes some students do weird things with their handwriting. But anywho, so journaling for me, and the reason why is because I feel that journaling is one of those like really great opportunities for students to get personal with the work. So I have two journals in particular that I use. One is they write a commonplace book, and then the other is a series of field journals. So a commonplace book. I think it's like a 17th century form of journaling that people generally of the upper classes would use. So books weren't like readily available. So what people would do is that when they would read something, they would keep a commonplace book. So they'd write out like favorite passages.
Oh, wow.
And then like, after they'd write down the passage, they'd kind of like have some of the reflections on it. And then once they were finished with the text, there would be this like larger kind of then summation or reflection on that piece. And then what would then happen is like one person would be just like, oh, well, I read this great book. I don't have the book anymore, but I do have my commonplace book entry. And then someone would read that person's commonplace book entry, and then that person would do a commonplace book on their commonplace book. And it would just be like this
Wow.
like crazy kind of thing. But
It's like social media.
sure, totally.
I'm sorry. No, in the best possible way.
It's what social media
it's
should
supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I use this commonplace book format as a way to engage in information literacy with students. So what I do is they'll have a reading, and then I ask them, it's like, okay, so, write down the bibliographic information, give us some background information of the author, like what are some significant historical events that happened during that person's lifetime. And then as you're reading, when you come across a passage that you're like, oh, I want you to write it down. So, and it needs to be like anywhere between 3 or 5 lines long. Write down that passage, and then after you've written down the passage, I ask them to then share like 1 or 2 statements or questions about that passage. Like, what was that like? That oh wow moment. So capture that in the words. So they do that 3 times, and then at the end they have to do a full 1-page reflection on the piece. And in that reflection, I ask them to start making connections between their own personal lives, their own history with the text. It's like, what did the text make you think about yourself or the way that you view the world? And then they'll do a series of these journals throughout the semester. But then what that does is it gets them thinking about these other texts as not something kind of separate from themselves, but as something that is personal. And then we then use these commonplace book entries for their source-based writing.
I love that.
And then the other journal that we engage in are field journals. And this is where I ask students to go out into their communities and just find a place to sit and watch and take notes. And it's kind of like a similar format where before they sit down, it's like, okay, so what's my environment like? Like who's here? What's the weather like? All this kind of stuff. And then what is it that I hope to learn? It's like, okay. And then they sit down and then they just observe and then they write. And then I say give yourself 3 hours after your observations to then do a reflection. And then that's another way for them to kind of like bring their kind of like academic content and their personal lives together. So that thing that we were talking about before, like, making it personal for every single student, like that's one of the ways that we do that. And then another reason why the journals are so fun for me is because grading is a snack because you can't be wrong. It's like, did you do it? You did it. Great. And I don't write on them because the journals they're their spaces. Yeah. So I might like write something on like a Post-it note or something like that and put it on there, but I just give it back. It's like, there, you got full credit.
That's
way
cool.
to go. But what's really fun is that, half the time I was like, man, is he reading this? So when I'm talking about certain topics in class, I'll be like, oh yeah, so Jayliana, remember in your journal when you said this thing? And then, she'd be like, oh my God. And then it's like, can you explain to me what's going on here based off of what you, and then it's just wonderful.
That's great.
So, and then you get the students kind of like, teaching class.
That's really great.
So journals.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
That's awesome.
How about you, Gina?
Oh, I didn't know I was going to get the question. That's
how we've been doing it.
I know, but I know. From the hip.
All right.
Well, I really love this assignment that I started doing in my health psychology class. Because as we've been kind of alluding to, these past couple of years have just been buck wild, right? Like just, so I want my students not only to be to connect it to themselves, but I really want them to be connected to their communities and to sort of think about the world. So, and I happened to go to a conference and saw this amazing presentation about the political determinants of physical health. And so, of course, I'm teaching them the biopsychosocial model of physical health, right? Yes, you might have a gene for something, but also if you live in a particular social environment, you might get exposed to something, and then we all have our own psychology and all those things. He's saying, and also there are laws and there are, systems and policies and procedures that put people in those social positions that might lead this group of people to experience X at a higher rate and this other group of people to experience it at a lower rate. So, and then I got excited. I talked to one of my dear colleague friends who used to take her students to Harrisburg on Lobby Day, which is the day that they would hear about, all the bills that there were being proposed in the Pennsylvania Assembly. And then they had to write about it. And I thought, how could I get my students to be thinking politically? And so long story short, I have them write a policy brief. So they've picked a topic of healthcare that they're concerned about and at-risk population. They've already done their community health intervention where they come up with a plan that they could take out to a community and say, hey, who wants to walk more, or whatever it is, whatever their idea is. But now they have to write up a policy brief. It's only 3 or 4 pages, and it's kind of multimedia in that there's visuals. They can pull charts off the internet. It's not long, but it would be this would be sent to one of their legislators or to a lobbying group or to an organization that has, like AARP, if you're interested in advocating for something that affects older people, right? What they produce, so to your question, Kelly, about what makes it good is what they produce. I'm only proud of the assignment if what they do with the assignment blows me away. Yeah. And they got so into it. And I mean, some of these things, they really, you could print them up and send them out places and they look like professional policy briefs. But they've picked some topic related to health that's important to them similarly. as well. So I'll show you guys some of. There are a couple of really
Sounds amazing,
cool
Gina. Kudos.
ones.
That's awesome. When did you start doing this?
Just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. Like, I feel like I've been changing up a lot of stuff, and part of it is in relation to AI, which we haven't really talked much about, but they also have to present their community health intervention. So they've talked to each other about their topic for weeks in the class. And so I get to hear their brains working, right? So even if they had AI help them put it together, that's fine, right? I mean, we're all going to be using AI to help us put papers together, right? But what's going on in between their ears is the crucial thing.
Yeah.
So,
Man.
I like to ask a question, and then I'm on board with. I think we move it on to
Sure.
guilty pleasure. We have Kelly is in a very unique position of having left being a full-time teaching faculty member for many years, and having very recently returned to the classroom full-time. And I think with you not playing just the host today, I think it would be a missed opportunity to not ask you about your return to the classroom. And at the very least, tell us maybe what surprised you. I'm sure you anticipated some of the things that you'd return to and be excited about or get frustrated with. But I'd be curious to know what are the things, or if there's something in particular that was surprising to you as you returned to the classroom full time this past semester.
Yeah, good. Put Kelly on the spot.
What has surprised me? I don't know. Because I think like the thing that really just has been so front and center with like so many like conversations both in the classroom and out is, ChatGPT. I feel like it's really kind of getting in the way of having like kind of meaningful conversations about our disciplines and having meaningful conversations with students about the content, because there's like this kind of overlying or like overbearing kind of sense of like how is cheating happening in every kind of like situation of our professional academic lives. So that has been, I'd have to say like maybe that has been the surprising thing of just like how overwhelming that has felt. Because to be quite honest, no, I'm going to lie to you, but to be quite honest, like it hasn't been that big of an issue for me. And here's where I'm surprised. I'm surprised that people are having such a hard time navigating away from what's making it difficult. And now I feel crappy saying that, it's like, because I know that there are some folks who are just feeling like that their career is not their career anymore because of it. But, as I've shared before, a lot of my research, actually all of my research right now is focused on the public humanities, and the foundations for that public humanities work is place-based education and critical pedagogy. And when you're engaging within those disciplines, like you're talking about yourself, and you're talking about what you know, and it's not something that can be generated through AI. So, and I guess like so. Part of it is that, I don't know. It's just like if we're connecting on a human to human level, like the AI just really, it isn't there because it doesn't have a place.
I sorry if I cut you off, but I just got really excited to hear you, an English professor, say, I don't know, say what the big deal is. Like, because of course we all think, oh, it's the production of writing that is at risk. And so therefore English faculty must be, losing their minds. And even me going, I'm just going to go more multimodal rather than asking for writing assignments. But the people I hear are the least panicked are the people who are like, it's another tool, and I'm just going to figure out how to make that tool work for me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Me as the instructor.
Yeah.
Well, so like you talking about it as a tool, like that's one of the things that has made me the most concerned, or maybe even like disappointed since I've come back. And I shared this with my English colleagues at our cluster meeting, because like it, as you could imagine, it is a very, very kind of like, it's a hot topic.
Sure.
And I get it. I really get it, because I mean, there are people who are using ChatGPT in ways that are extremely dishonest, and it's so obvious. And it sucks. It takes the joy of learning out, and in many ways it's theft. But so the thing that I had shared with my colleagues was that I had a student in my English 1 class that like I do not know how they made it into that class. I don't know how they tested in, because when you read their writing, it's all over the place. Like there's some kind of like attention thing going on there, and so I built a very kind of like close relationship with this student because they needed a lot of help, and then thus they also needed a lot of help from the tutors in our learning center. But there was nothing within our capabilities that could help this student become an independent writer, where they wouldn't need us to like read over the stuff and kind of like help them edit like sentence by sentence. And all I could think about, this student was just absolutely amazing. Such a hard worker, just good soul, and you just wanted them to succeed, and they did. They ended up getting an A- in my class because they utilized every single resource in the college to help them get through that class. And it's just like once you've like addressed something over and over and over and over again, like it eventually just has no other choice but to correct itself. But I know that on the other end, like there's no transfer of knowledge, but all I could think about when working with the student is like, wow, it's like, I would ask for like a 3-page essay, and they would come into my office with like 5.
Wow.
Like all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, if this person could just run this through ChatGPT and say, can you please help me make sense of this? It would help. But the fact that we see ChatGPT as a tool for harm and a tool for malice, we're not allowing ourselves to kind of even entertain those possibilities that in the end is the cure that student needs. And it's been rough. So so the thing that has surprised me is just like how ChatGPT, how just like aggressive and just icky it makes our relationships feel. Boom. Nailed it.
Nice. Nice one.
Man, that was rough. Okay. But anyways.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Could have warned me, but whatever.
Well, I kind of then just want to keep talking about AI, but we have places to go and people to see and things to do.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Should we do a little round robin guilty pleasures?
Yeah.
And then
I think we should.
And then I'm just gonna, so you listening, if there's still anyone listening, I'm gonna just ride this out to the ending, right? And then we don't have to record an ending.
I think that's beautiful.
All right. All right.
Tear it up.
Cool.
Who's first?
Jeff.
Uh-huh.
I've always picked Jeff.
Me too.
I'm going to say the holiday edition Reese's Peanut Butter Cups out of the freezer.
Ooh.
So it could be like the tree shape or the heart. There's more like peanut butter filling to chocolate ratio in the holiday ones. And not the ones that have like the paper wrapping. There's too much chocolate. I need a higher peanut butter to chocolate ratio right out of the freezer.
That is such a brilliant idea. I want to do that.
That's it. So that's all I got.
Kelly.
Oh, damn. You didn't see me do this? Finger on the nose thing. Zelda. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom.
Wow.
So I've never owned... Oh, no. I had the Atari in the early 80s. But then I never had a gaming console other than that. And I just, like, I'm not good at video games. Like that whole dexterity thing. Like I've watched like students in, playing like their shoot 'em up games and sport games. I'm like, how do you make your fingers do that? It's just nuts. But we got a Nintendo Switch about 2 or 3 years ago, and one of the games that we got was Breath of the Wild. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
No,
I'm familiar.
But it's this open world thing where you just have your character and you just run around and do stuff and explore, and you cook things. And I just absolutely love it. And also, like, going back to the emotional thing, I don't like violent games and just unnecessary
What
violence.
about the monsters? You got to fight the goblins and stuff.
And when you fight them, they turn into a little poof.
Just poof. Yeah, they just poof.
Purple, glittery smoke. It's great, And they're just so silly, chewing on steaks and stuff. But anywho, so I've never really been good at video games, but I've gotten good at Zelda. And I have done a playthrough of each of these games at least 4 times.
Wow.
And right now I'm doing a playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom. So one of the things that you have is a paraglider. So you can jump off of a mountain, just paraglide safely somewhere. I'm playing it without a paraglider.
Wow.
And you get to learn the map in a whole new way. And you die by falling often.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, my guilty pleasure is like I play a lot of Zelda.
Nice.
The kids and my wife, they want me to start a separate like YouTube channel.
The Twitch?
Oh, yeah.
Called Dad Does Zelda.
There you go.
That's perfect.
And then I play all the Zelda games. Okay, but yeah, that's mine. How about you?
So I went out to a delightful happy hour last Friday. And so my companion finished their drink and ordered another one. And I had a beautiful martini with Hendrick's gin, up with a twist, very dry. And so I thought, I'll have another one too. So the bartender said, do you want ice? Do you want ice chips on it? And it was like the heavens parted open and the sunlight beamed down on him because he made me the perfect martini. It was glorious. And because they've shaken it, not stirred, they've shaken it. And so you get the little bit, it's freezing cold when you get the martini. And with French fries, that is just one of my favorite things in the whole world. Is French a perfect martini and French fries.
Love it. A well-made cocktail is one of my guilty pleasures, so I'm right there with you, Gina.
It's a joy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm going to stir my martini. So we differ in terms of how it's put together.
That's okay.
But,
that is okay.
Yeah.
It's the differences that make us beautiful.
I stir gin and shake vodka.
Interesting.
Because I was told once that gin bruises. And that's a flavor that people enjoy. I don't. I was just like, I'm just going to be difficult. So I'm going to say, don't bruise my gin.
Well, I think that the James Bond vodka, the James Bond martini is vodka.
Yes.
And he wants it shaken.
Yes.
Okay.
I like it's
the
it's
Vesper.
Just I want it
whatever,
to be the Vesper. Yeah. I want it to be so cold that you actually get those ice chips on top of it. So even though it's gin and a quality gin, I want him to bruise the heck out of it.
Damn.
I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Gina's got a meeting.
I do have a meeting.
Yeah.
Is it at a bar?
I wish. Well, this has been a delight. So I think we're going to just say goodbye now.
Yeah. Jeff, thanks for joining us. It's good to hear your voice on a microphone. It's got to be weird. You've got your headphones on.
If you say so.
No, I love it. But no, yeah, I think that it's good to just say love you, bye.
Yeah.
Very, very grateful for both of you and love you. Bye.
All right.
Grateful for both of you and love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Pedagogy A Go-Go, recorded in the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology at Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Our producer in all things technology is Jeff Armstrong. If you've got any questions, please send them to pedagogyagogo@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on social media at pedagogyagogo, and click into our bio for copies of podcast transcripts, guest assignments, and other useful tidbits. Until next time, this is Gina and Kelly saying we hope your day is filled with wonderful learning experiences.